Welcome to Eastern Newsbeat. Tricia Ziemer here reporting. We're here with Lindy Allen. She's the Director of Regional Arts Victoria. And tonight we've had a delightful night. We have been at Illuminate by Fire. Now, can you tell us a little bit about this initiative?
Yes, it's been going for 2 years. We've been working with 11 communities across regional Victoria, and the idea was to use arts to explore fire and how communities can respond to serious fire events and be more resilient. And it's been extraordinarily successful. It's just been, it was beautiful late last year seeing all the projects realised in places like Dunkeld and Creswick and Swan Hill and Bryagalong, and now to see them all come together in Melbourne in the BMW Edge at Fed Square, which is just a fabulous location, and the burning boat on the Yarra River. It's been really fabulous. I feel very happy.
Now, how many artists did you have? I've got the feeling there was about 10 or more.
Yes, well, last year there were 11 projects, and we've installed 10 this year in Fed Square. So some of the artists have worked in collaboration with others, some were on their own, so probably about 15 artists altogether, and then we have an artistic director who manages the whole project statewide, Donna Jackson, and we've also a curator of stories, Malcolm McKinnon, who's a social historian and filmmaker who's backed it up with some really fabulous short films and also some films from other artists along the way.
We've seen some stunning pieces tonight. How long does it take for an artist to start from concept to finish?
Well, one of the things that we try and do with projects like this is to be incredibly well organised. So that's an interesting question. All of the artists last year were on a fairly tight timeline, partly for funding reasons. So probably from go to woe in terms of developing the concept, working with the community, delivering it locally, that was over, a 3-month period. Some of them worked sort of 3 to 6 hours per week on a regular basis. Some did a block of 2 weeks or 3 weeks. So they all worked in slightly different ways, but it was a very defined and compressed sort of working period, concept to realisation.
Now, it seemed that you linked quite a few of the artists in through the community house sector. Is that true?
Yes, the Association of Neighbourhood Houses and Learning Centres were a partner last year, which was really fabulous. When we developed the concept for the project, we had intended to be working with the CFA, but the last meeting that we had was, there's our lighting designer, fabulous. The last meeting we had was just before Black Saturday, so unfortunately the CFA weren't able to be a delivery partner, and the neighbourhood house sector came on board, and they were really great to work with last year.
Now, what was the brief? Because we have seen some extremely different and beautiful things tonight.
Well, we called for expressions of interest from artists and we said, we want to hear your concepts about working with your community. What's important to your community? What are the stories? And so, for example, in the Swan Hill community, there's quite a strong Indigenous community up there. There's also a newly arrived community of Sikhs. And so fire obviously is really important for Indigenous people, but it's also a really strong aspect of Sikh culture. So those two fairly disparate groups worked together on a dance project, which was really fabulous. I think in other places like Bryagalong, we had an artist who's a very strongly conceptual artist who created a giant chandelier out of organza, and that was overlaid with a lighting show that encouraged people to be quite contemplative about fire, and also a soundtrack that was stories from local people about fire. Again, in Lakes Entrance, Catherine Larkins, who's worked on a number of our statewide projects, her concept was to collaborate with a number of local Indigenous artists that she's worked quite closely with, Lenny Hayes and Frances Harrison in particular, and do a project that somehow pitted the settlers' lounge room with the television, the couch and the chimney against some more ancient elements. So the briquettes that she used, for example, are 30 million years old. I'm probably making that figure up, but they're very old. They're actually about 20 years old from a factory in the Latrobe Valley. But obviously they're made from really ancient materials. And embellishing those elements, the lounge room, the chimney, with Indigenous designs was a nice offset. So you're right, the projects have all been incredibly diverse, and I think that's because regional Victoria is incredibly diverse.
And the Illuminates from Ballarat, the singing choir as well.
Yes, the Flamettes.
Playmates, thank you.
Yes, they are really fabulous. So Tracy Bourne did a project up there about Lake Wendouree and fire on the lake. An extraordinary event a couple of years ago in the middle of the drought when the dry lake bed caught fire. So Tracy has written a canon of songs about that event, and tonight, as you saw, there was 70 choir members moving around from place to place singing that beautiful original music.
Thank you very much for your time.